Cameron Parish Police Jury Meeting. This is our agenda, or morning session, Monday, May 11th, 2026, 10 a.m. Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay, our first for the morning session here is 3 Creole Recreation Center. I think Miss Lindsay Fontenot's here to discuss as the rec board president.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. I know Ms. Haley Bascalby had already sent all the information, but I'll give a little bit of a background. We were awarded about $1.4 million in FEMA monies. We are ready to go on our project, ready to go out for bid. We have approximately $1,042,000 left. We're on the express pay plan. We're prepared to pay the 10% of the remaining amount for FEMA. We owe about $34,000 left of that. We're also prepared to pay all of our engineering costs. We really just need the cash flow. We don't have $1 million in our account. So I didn't know if you had any questions for us.
Is there any way to kind of briefly give us a summary of what the plans would be?
Sure. Oh, yes. We will replace our baseball fields. We will also add a basketball court, which will be tennis, pickleball, shuffleboard. Add more seating, and we have some additional projects as well. There it is. May I approach with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
As you can see, this is the pavilion that's already there. So we'd like to replace our baseball fields. This is the court, add some seating. There'll be some restrooms and concessions.
Is this replacing what was there before the storm or something?
The baseball field was there before the storm. The playground was as well. There was a swimming pool across the street, but we're not.
It technically is gonna replace what was there before Rita, though.
Sir?
Technically, it would replace most of which was there before Rita. They had put, the playground's there, I think y'all adding to it, correct?
Yes, we added to it, and one of the additional projects, we would add even more.
Yeah. I think the only other thing would be the basketball, court would be different from having 2 fields. They kind of pivoted to give more of options to the kids.
And the field that we're playing on could be a softball or baseball field. So it's kind of replacing that one and making it one.
Any questions?
Yeah, they used to be 2. This is the Creole Rec. It's, the Cameron's got 4. Historically, that's where pretty much all the baseball teams, whether it be softball or for the school, would practice. And then the games initially, which they're very few for the tournaments, would happen, at the Cameron Rec in that. But historically, that's where all of the South Cameron players and summer teams or league ball, whatever you want to describe them as, that's where most of the practice happened. That was in Creole.
And I do want to assure you, once the payment is made, it would be $0 to you that you would be out. We would cover anything in addition to. We just don't have the funding.
And Ms. Lindsay, I know I met with you briefly a couple days ago on this matter, and you said that you done got with FEMA for them to basically, instead of having to come to the jury, pay y'all up front. But I think
We did try that prior to coming to y'all. We asked for prepayment, but we weren't an emergency situation, so they wouldn't do that for us.
and then
We are on express pay, so that's already set up.
yeah, could you elaborate more on express pay to kind of give us maybe more of a time frame? And maybe Katie could help us on that, because I know the jury had some concerns about like when would we get paid back and stuff.
Right, so traditionally FEMA is a reimbursement program. You spend the money, you submit your invoices, they reconcile it, and then they'll refund you. The Express Pay expedites that funding, so they withhold an additional like 10%. You give them the invoices, they pay without reconciliation, and they reconcile it at the back end. And so that's what she means, like they have the 10-day Express Pay. You're gonna get your money within 30 days of submitting invoices versus it could probably take more like 90 days under normal circumstances.
And like I said, we're able to pay our engineer fees, our 10% cost, anything in addition to what FEMA would pay.
So Ms. Pondo, your money that you have now is from the current, taxes y'all have in place? Is that, y'all been kind of building up?
Correct. I think,
Yes, sir. We get about 67,000 a year. You know, it varies a little bit. Currently in our checking funds, we have $413,511.92, and in our savings, we have about 17,000.
and then additionally, just to give more insight, a lot of this stuff is gonna basically just be grass cutting or keeping up and maintaining. And they got plenty of funds to do that. I don't think they're really gonna have employees or nothing in the near future anyways. So
No, sir.
everything will 100% be self-contained and managed after this project is done to make sure we can cover, you know, the maintenance costs and anything additionally, just to kind of give some insight.
Yes, sir.
Does the school have their own baseball fields, or do they play on these fields as well?
No, sir, we don't. We play in Cameron currently at the rec in Cameron.
Go ahead.
You know, with my question, ad valorem taxes, you'll be able to maintain what you're putting back here?
Oh, yes, sir. It's really just mostly grass cutting. Maybe every few years restripe the basketball court. I know at school we had about 3 years we had to restripe it, but that's just a few $1,000s. You know, you're not talking.
And
Expensive.
what are we expecting these payments to be at each time
From FEMA?
from the jury?
Well, that's really up to you. You can wait for the project to be completed and pay it one time and then get the reimbursement, or we could also ask Mr. Mitch Thomas to put it in the bid where we get billed a little at a time.
And with the Express Pay, Katie, how quick is the return?
It's typically around 30 days from the time we submit an invoice.
Is there any concerns from the administration on doing something like this?
No, not really. I mean, typically the risk associated with the Express Pay is that you get reconciled like years later at closeout, and then that's when you're aware of what might be deobligated. But because they're willing to give us the non-federal share up front, we'll have that kind of in a trust account. Anything that comes in that's unobligated, we'll already have that money to kind of cover the cost. And they have plenty of funds, $413,000. That's plenty to cover anything that might be deemed deobligated 2 years from now at closeout versus upfront reconciliation. We could get them to sign an agreement too, like we did with the drainage board, saying that they're aware that anything that's deobligated is the responsibility of the rec district, not of the jury. So they'll be obligated to pay anything later down the road, a few years from now during closeout.
Okay.
So if it's built and when they're billing, while they're during construction, they bill it with progressive payments and signed off by the engineer, you're saying 30 to 60 days we should get paid on that, that invoicing?
Correct.
So we won't have this full amount out at any time?
Correct. Typically, what takes so long for reimbursement is you have to wait for like a clear check, a canceled check proving that it was deposited in cash, and that's what takes so long. And so this way, you're almost guaranteed. As soon as you have the invoice, you could submit it that day, and they have a review, and you could have payment within 30 days.
Because if you look at our cash base, if you look at it on a cash base versus accrual, we really don't have the cash to fund the whole thing. But if we could do it and get paid fast enough, it probably wouldn't be that big of an issue.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Katie, have you looked at these paperwork from FEMA, and you and Ms. Kayla or whoever?
Yes, sir. And we have consultants. HCA's our consultants, and they submitted everything. Everything's approved, obligated, ready to go. They're just waiting on a notice to proceed to start funding.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Lindsay, appreciate you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay, for all the board done to get us here today.
Okay, number 4, Fleet Enterprise Annual Update.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you all for y'all's time. My name is Dustin Hines, and I am the client strategy manager for Enterprise Fleet with Cameron Parish. We have been partners since 17, and so this is an annual update of kind of the partnership. So effectively, I did these numbers that I've handed you guys based off of your budget year, which would have been the 25 fiscal year budget. And then I can kind of touch on some things in regard. So wanted to walk through first the industry and kind of what's going on in the automotive industry. And when we talk about automotive industry, we're looking at, as a fleet management company, we're trying to help you with total cost of ownership, including operating expenses, so not just the purchase of vehicles solely. But if you look at new vehicle pricing, it is, I mean, anybody can see the prices went up substantially. Cox Automotive said the average price of a vehicle is $50,000, and I went back and checked when we partnered with you guys, the average cost of a vehicle is about $37,000, so that's went up significantly. What we're able to do is our private resale power with your public buying power is what marries this partnership really well together. And so even with the state contract, it's went up during the COVID time about 30 or 40%. So you look at some of the vehicles we bought back in 2019, 2020, we were paying about $25,000 for a half-ton truck. Today, that same truck's about $45,000 on the state contract. So significantly costs have increased. However, through this partnership, we've actually been able to kind of balance and streamline the process, selling at the right time to keep your budget almost in line. And actually this past year it went down about 3%. So in regards to fuel, while fuel last year did go down, diesel was flat. Obviously with everything going on, the prices are going up substantially. So that's something that we always want to monitor. And then maintenance repairs has been a challenging dynamic in the regard of technicians. There's not enough certified technicians to do the work. So labor hours have been more expensive over the past few years, as well as the tariffs have had an impact on parts just in general, raising the average parts price about 3%. When you talk about the resale market, because of the higher cost of new vehicles, the resale market has continued to stay strong post-COVID, which is a benefit for selling of these leased vehicles down the road, whether it's been 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And then if we kind of circle around to Cameron Parish specifically, we have 28 vehicles on lease in this partnership. The average age of those vehicles is 2.6 years. So oldest vehicle in the fleet right now is a 2021. You have some 25s, would be the newest, and I believe there was one 26. In regards to the average odometer, it's right at 35,000 miles. So a really healthy fleet. Total fleet value is right under $1 million. So about $961,000 is what it's evaluated at today. Of that, the equity the parish has currently is about $370,000. That means if you turned in the vehicles and you wanted to wash away, you would get about $370,000 back of that net value once you paid off the balance of the vehicles owed. Average equity position is about $13,000. If you look at 2025, we end up selling 8 vehicles on your guys' behalf, and we totaled $211,000 on the resale, and that netted the parish about $121,000. Which basically cost the parish about $11,000 over 5 years to run those vehicles, or about, if you did it off of a monthly basis, about $200. I think I had it $215 a month is what it cost you to run those vehicles. Comparative to purchasing that same type, it'd be about 5 vehicles, a little over 5 off of the state contract for you to purchase 28 vehicles for what you're operating. Those 28 for what you would purchase. Did I clarify that? Hang on. So it would cost the parish the same amount to purchase 5 vehicles as running 28 today. So you're just doing more with your money, making it go further. Something I work with the administration on is the operating costs, right? So if we can adjust, we have a fixed maintenance program that allows Enterprise to cover the maintenance, whether it be oil changes, tire rotations, to if the engine fails, pre 100,000 miles, anything that wouldn't be covered under warranty, Enterprise covers that up to 100,000 miles. So what we're able to do, and what I work with the administration on a biannual basis, is reviewing mileage patterns to just make sure that we have the maintenance program in the right mileage pattern, as well as fuel opportunities. So fuel continues to be the total, the most expensive operating cost. So what we did last year was kind of reflect on, are there opportunities to maybe get smaller vehicles, or are there opportunities to maybe get a smaller engine or switch a half-ton truck to a three-quarter ton truck or vice versa, right? In doing some of that, we were able to lower your miles per gallon about 4 miles over the total fleet. And that ended up saving you guys right at $37,000 in fuel expense for 2025. In regards to the maintenance costs, again, it was down 8% year over year, and that's just because of our fixed program, the way we're able to identify mileage patterns. Maintenance is based off miles, right? So X amount of miles, you gotta do an oil change, right? You gotta do all of those things. So ideally identifying those and shortening some where patterns were a little less than 100,000 miles was a way to reduce some costs. And something else that's not included is because of the inflation that's happened over maintenance over time, our fixed maintenance program doesn't go up. It's fixed so that it makes it very easy and budgetable for the administration and for you guys to review on an annual basis. So I said a lot.
Appreciate your time. Do we have any questions from the judge?
Are y'all doing the maintenance on the vehicles, or are we doing that in-house?
We outsource it. So Enterprise does not have it, but we outsource it to vendors in the area. So for example, I'm not sure, I know there's an oil change vendor a little bit south or southwest of here that a lot of the different barns use. And then also Lake Charles, like Service Chevrolet and different places like that. So all of that is paid for by Enterprise though. Yes, sir. And I can give you one example if we want to look through the resale. So I went back and looked, and so we had purchased a vehicle, a half-ton truck, for $40,000 in 2021. The parish had paid $29,000 towards the vehicle, and this is an equity lease. So instead of a walk-away lease where you're paying and there's no return, the equity is the ownership of the parish, and that's what makes it work. So you would pay $29,000 in equity. Right at 5 years later, with 83,000 miles, we sold it for $35,000. So we sold it for $5,000 less than we bought it 5 years ago. So the delta for you guys to run that was $5,000 that it cost the parish over 5 years. And again, that's where we work with over 100 government entities, but because we're able to purchase either through the state contract or direct through the manufacturer and use government incentives, we're buying at the lowest cost to buy. And with Enterprise, we sell over 1 million vehicles a year. So we're actually we have about 7 dedicated sales reps in the state that sell these vehicles based on how fast they can sell it and how much money they can get on a return back to the parish.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Any questions? Appreciate you.
All right, thank you guys.
Moving on to the next topic, CAFA, Capital Area Finance Authority Bond Resolution. Kristen Delahousie.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm with Capital Area Finance Authority, and we're located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And we are East Baton Rouge and then the 8 surrounding parishes. So for us to come in to offer our down payment assistance programs to help first-time home buyers, we have to get permission through a cooperative endeavor agreement, which we do have with Cameron Parish. However, when we issue tax-exempt bonds, we have to get another resolution. And I think it was maybe 2020, maybe last year. Yeah. So what we did was we came in with the first resolution that we did that y'all approved us for. I think we were doing 45 million, or maybe it was 25 million in these tax-exempt bonds. And we went through that and we ran out of the money. And so we were doing another bond issuance. And I think the resolution was for 100 million. So we were putting those bonds out in tranches. So we had approval from the bond commission and we would just go and get it in tranches. Well, we ran out of that last pot of money, the 100 million last Friday. So and this is helping first-time home buyers. This is helping overcome those obstacles when you're trying to purchase a home for down payment, closing costs. And so I'm coming to ask for permission if we can stay in the parish to do this work. We cannot sign. Y'all can approve it, but you can't sign it until I have that TEFRA hearing scheduled. And so it's a whole process. We have to have our bond counsel. We have to go to back to the bond commission. We have to have that TEFRA hearing. We have to do publications. We have to market it. So that will probably, I'm thinking with the timeline, we will be rolling this money back out in July or August, hopefully at the latest. However, I have to get to all the parishes, so I'm trying to get in front of everybody to get the approval. Then once we have the TEFRA hearing, y'all can sign off on it. But if you have any questions on how the program works, I do have a flyer. And just to let y'all know why we do the bonds, because the mortgage rates are so high and we're just expecting them to go down, and they're not. So we were able to offer the down payment assistance on the first mortgage loan would be 5.88 on that interest rate, which is phenomenal. And right now, when we roll out the next bond and they go to market, we won't know what that rate's going to be, but it will be below market. It'll be below the market rate, which is very helpful to those first-time home buyers. And there's no risk to the parish. It's the same thing that we've been doing. Just I have to get the okay that y'all will allow us to continue in here.
How many home buyers do we currently have in this program in the parish?
I don't think y'all have any right now, but that's to say you don't want to eliminate the possibility.
And how do they participate in it, and how is it marketed so they know that this is available?
So we have realtor. We do a lot of trainings with realtors and loan lenders. So we don't actually do the financing. So we have a group of lenders that sign up with us, and when they sign up to offer the program, they're doing everything. They're doing the first time. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you call, say, Red River Bank, then they are doing they're doing the loan. And if you qualify for our program, then they can offer you up to 4% assistance for that down payment and closing costs. So it's really the home buyer that's working with the lender. And we do realtor trainings, we do trainings with the lenders, we're out there in the market, we have a social media presence. So if there's any kind of community events that you have that you would like me to come and speak at, I mean, we do financial literacy. I'm happy to do that. I do a lot of stuff with the realtor associations and with lenders, but if I have done things in parishes with the community. I did one in Lake Charles a couple of weeks ago with the city. I've done it in St. John, in Caddo. So if there's anything that I can get on and talk with anybody, I would love to be a part of that, because it just helps spread our mission.
I mean, public awareness is a real problem. There's a lot of programs, not just in this age, but a whole lot of things that people just aren't aware of, and they're never able to take part in it because they're not aware of what there's out there and available.
Yeah, and most lenders are the ones that are doing they'll do first-time homebuyer seminars. And if y'all don't have that, if the parish isn't doing that, then I can work with lenders and if there's somebody in the parish that works with housing, I can certainly work with them to do that. But a lot of lenders do that without us being a part of it, just because they're trying to get clients and houses purchased. But if y'all have suggestions on any...
I think if that's a reasonable request, if this all goes through and is approved, is maybe we can put out a quarterly thing through our Facebook and tie it in and really let people know that this is able. Because I mean, first time home buyers is really our struggle in Cameron Parish right now, and it's not just because of the prices, it's because of the regulation and many other things, but insurance prices. But
Well, I'm happy to travel down here to help.
Absolutely. If we can, I would like that request.
Absolutely.
Been a lot of first-time home buyers or younger adults that have no clue about financing or anything else. So
No.
that's some help along the way, or awareness of what's available. They may pay way higher interest rate.
Well, and there are a lot of people that are renting that don't realize, they don't think they're ready to purchase a home. And when they go to some of these first-time home buyers seminars and they learn about the process, they realize that they actually can get into a home. And with this down payment assistance, so if you're doing, say, an FHA loan, you need 3.5% for your down payment of the final loan amount. Well, this gives you 4%. So with that other 0.5%, you can put it towards your closing costs. You can put it toward prepaid items like inspections or appraisals. I mean, there's so many things that hinder first-time home buyers into getting into that home. And then sometimes there are people that have money that they're saving, and if they get into a home, it's going to wipe out their entire nest egg. And that's where these programs come into place too. And we can stack this. So if there's a bank a lot of banks have their own, or some parishes, communities have their own sort of down payment assistance or grant programs, and we can stack that with this as well to give the borrower even more assistance to help them get into that home.
I think Mr. Nunez have a question.
Where is it? Y'all get y'all's funding at?
Where? The state, the volume cap it's the tax exempt bonds that we get. And that's why we have to go to the bond commission and request the funds. And there's always a chance that we would go and request and we wouldn't get it, but we have not yet.
You get additional money by, say, coming into Cameron Parish.
I don't know. We just go in when we go to the bond commission, we just tell them what this mission is and why we want it. And they have their own initiatives for housing. And even though we're local, they do know that we're pretty much statewide. We're not in Orleans Parish, we're not in Jefferson Parish. So they do know that we're working across the state. That may help, that we're in all these parishes.
So you're in 62 or?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. I think
Thank
that's
you.
all the questions. Okay, number 6, RV GPD gallon per day sizing. Drew Daigle.
Yeah, Mr. President, I had 2 issues with the RVs gallon per day. One of which is I'd like to get an update on where we at with the letter that we were supposed to send concerning the 125 and 250 to LDH, and if we got a response back or not from them, or what's the plans moving forward.
That letter was sent in December, requesting consistency. We requested assistance from Representative Boyack to meet with LDH and make sure that the rules were being applied equally across the board. That was in December. We sent a follow-up letter about our CBO having the authority to exempt service buildings in April.
Any response or any feedback from them?
No.
Because I still have a few people calling about the 250 they're getting held to, is why I'm questioning that. And also, the second thing, for the Cameron Sewer Division on the RV permits, I was told by a few people, I think there were 7 or 8 people that was denied permits due to the pond being at capacity, which to me is concerned because I went to the sewer meeting last couple weeks ago. And I think Mr. Sonny was on a cell phone, and they was calculating it wrong. Is there any way we could see how they're supposed to be calculating that to make sure this don't happen in the future?
We can schedule a meeting with the Cameron Sewer Board and
Yeah.
ask them to educate us on how they're calculating that and assessing that, making those determinations.
Well, at the moment, I believe if it's factual, I was at the meeting. I think Mr. Tom was there too. I don't think they got a quorum to schedule a meeting with yet. So in the meantime, can we just see how it's supposed to be calculated to relay that information maybe to the 2 board members and the staff?
Yeah, I can schedule a meeting with their secretary and get the information.
Yep.
Bring it back to you.
Yep, I greatly appreciated it on
And
those
then-
2 issues.
And who, as far as the first issue, we got an email from Taylor, our local LDH inspector, and she told us exactly how they've been implementing it, which was they size it at 125 as long as the service building is exempt. That's according to them how they've been implementing it moving forward, and I'm not aware of any deviation from that. So if you give me
So
the person's name, we can follow up with them on.
correct, and I will get with you after the meeting. So have we been exempting these buildings, or how we been moving forward on that with our staff? I see Mr. Cooney shaking, so I'm taking we've been exempting them. So.
Our CBO is here, yes.
Okay. I greatly appreciate it. I just want to make sure we kind of get that knocked out and set in stone to where we can kind of move past all that and make it as easy as possible for the people and not cause a burden. Because when you're talking $10,000 to some people, it's not much. To me, it's a lot. I can live a year off of $10,000, So, but that's all I have on that, Mr. President, unless anybody got anything else.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Daigle. Anybody got anything else? Okay, number 7, potential Creole levy project, Jared Daigle.
Yeah, Mr. President, I wanted just to bring to the jury and the staff, I think Mr. Sonny's not here today, but we had a meeting with Ms. Kerr and I think Vince the Maker and a few other people. We was talking about a grant or FEMA funds to do a project which would tie onto the North Cameron EOC levee here in Cameron and go all the way to the Creole Canal to stop water intrusion, saltwater intrusion that's coming onto us. And basically, they use the word frame circulation. We're basically circulating water instead of draining it off. In that time, I had the pleasure of going out talking with all the residents and that. The initial plans from speaking with the people probably will not get lift off because they don't want us block their marshes north of the ridges because they utilize them for hunting, fishing, trapping, all these things. So we've been working with them to try to see where we could possibly in the future build a levee, and it's going to be going from the Creole Canal down the ridge, and then the Carter Estate is allowing us to use the existing levee to come back south to the ridge just north of the state highway, right there in Creole, and that'll be tremendous. It's just we've been working with the board and the people and just wanted to pitch the idea to y'all's guys because in the future it may be something that comes to the table to kind of get y'all aware and also the public out there. So.
Okay, any questions from the jury?
How does the drainage board get involved in that? How do they feel about it?
They 100% want to do it. Right now, our biggest goal, and we've been working hand in hand since I become a juror, and I think before us, Mr. Tom McDaniel worked with him quite often. The goal is from Mirier Road, I believe it's called, or I don't know the exact name, back towards the state highway, and then in Creole, right there where Mr. Gary got his cows, to go from the Creole Highway to utilize the ridge past the Comos and that to the Carter property, and it's going to come south. But the board is on board. They never got liftoff. I think this grant or FEMA fund's been in the works for quite a while now. I think the last time I'm hearing we got that grant, so to speak, has been 30 years ago. So, and I think it was like 18 or 19 million dollars. And last I checked, just roughly, without putting a pen to the paper and actually doing a hard study, just talking ideas with the board, I think we was probably around $2 or $3 million compared to that, utilizing ridges. But the main thing is the initial FEMA project, the issue with that, for that to take off and get any traction with the people, you'd almost have to do eminent domain, which nobody's in favor of, at least I'm not. So working with the people, I think we could try to bring that to light and get this extra saltwater intrusion off of the people in a good way.
Hey, Mark, is saltwater intrusion? Is it hurricane protection or?
No, it's going to be saltwater intrusion, and I wouldn't say hurricane protection because it's north of anything it would protect rather than the marsh. It's coming through the Cameron Creole watershed. That is a brackish water marsh, so it is saltwater at times, and at times it's not. But yes, we done saw when we was in a drought 2.5 years ago, I believe it was.
Coming in through the canals is what I'm asking, and it's not coming over the.
Yes, it comes over the ridge in the back because it's been washed out through the years with the hurricanes and stuff like that. There's a couple levees and we call them the coops. It's where right there north of my house, there's a culvert that it goes down to a levee, and they're washed out. So it's free flowing from the Cameron Creole watershed into the Creole drainage area that never once did that back before Rita, I shall say. So we're just trying to stop that. Just like I said, 2 years ago when we was in a drought and we had that little storm that come, it was dry one day, the next morning they had 2 foot of water, and it was 100% salt water because of the storm.
I guess my question was it hurricane, but because it is coming through canals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, it could be hurricane, but I mean, if we get a category 4 or 5, it's not going to stop. But like for a little squall or maybe a 1 or something to that nature, I could see it be used for that, but the main purpose is to where the Cameron Creo drainage structures, which from what I've been educated on, they're designed to move a certain amount of water. They're not designed to take on all the stuff from the Cameron Creo watershed. So when we get the tide to flow out, we drain a good bit of water out, and it drops in the Creo Canal. But when the tide comes back up, we're right back at where we started, because that water will drain out of the Creo Cameron watershed back onto us. So. And again, it's just kind of to start talking about it and educating the jury and the residents and the staff to maybe what's potentially to come. And we've been working with the drainage board.
Wasn't that levy years ago actually partially done?
Correct. It was partially done. A lot of it's going to be the ridge, say from the hole back there at the Como. Well, I say the Comos, next to the Comos property, what they refer to. The ridge is high enough from there till right past Mr. David Connor's house. So all that'll stay natural. It's just from there on, depending on, the height of the tide, it sheet flows and fills everybody's property up over the ridges.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on to number 8, receive information regarding meeting policy revisions. Jared Daigle.
Yeah, Mr. President, last meeting, I believe I done a add-on, and it was consideration to change meeting policies, and I don't want to keep it, I guess, too long or too much discussion. I actually put an article out there, and it's simple. It's all about accountability. We always, it sounds like the big issue with the jury is able to get sued. With open meeting policy, we can't limit how people speak and all that. It's protected by First Amendment rights. Also, are we going to do a town hall meeting every month to where the people could bring us just ideas or their concerns off the street, instead of hoping we get it on the agenda and it moves through everybody discussing what they like or dislike about it? So I will be providing the staff a clear way forward, and I'm hoping to do an add-on today for us to vote to change it instead of just consider to change it. And just like speaking, like I was just asking you and our legal counsel, Mr. Tom, before the meeting about a update on the dredging stuff. I'm told we can't get it on the agenda. It's not a line item. It's not an add-on. But clearly we've been supposed to get an update every meeting now because it's a serious issue out there. But I don't know why nobody wants to update the people or the jury other than in an email or off the record. So I just think it's a big concern, and I think we need to be more transparent, because let's face it, guys, over 95% of the old jurors got voted out because the people wanted a change, and what the people wanted is transparency and accountability. It's very simple. So I think we need to change our policy to reflect not Mark Daigle's wishes, but the Constitution and the laws of public meetings rights. So I'll leave it at that, and I will be giving staff multiple PowerPoints to hopefully send out to y'all.
Okay. I'm gonna make a small comment on that, and if I misspeak on behalf of the jury, please allow that. I think what we're coming down to is we have a lot of stuff going on in our parish right now, a lot. And it is a challenge to continue these meetings on and stay focused and stay at the will of the majority of the people. From time to time, it's not about holding things off of agenda at all. It is about properly doing business. And I guess we have a disagreement on the table of the proper way to do that. I know my opinion, and I think a lot of the jurors feel the same way, that if our constituents have an issue, the first place they come is to us as a juror, because we represent those people. And we typically would bring that problem to the staff. And if the staff cannot help us fix that issue, then we would bring it in front of the jury. But most things can be fixed through the administration. And these public meetings are just not the place to have ongoing discussion a lot of these things can be addressed through the staff. That's what they work full-time. We are not full-time. By far are we not full-time. Most of us have careers and jobs. But I hear the rhetoric about holding things and holding freedom of speech, and it's nothing about that. It's decorum, it's being respectful, it's making sure that we're taking the right path to address those things. I'm gonna allow the jury to speak if they wanna speak, but then after that, I would like to invite Mr. Tom up because I did challenge him. We are not subject matter experts. Mr. Tom is a subject matter expert. He's a professional lawyer, been in the law business several years. And we don't, I've said it in the last special meeting that I'm learning a lot. I think everybody on here is learning a lot being new jurors. We're not experts, but I depend on subject matter experts to give us advice. So I would like to invite him up here after any other juror would like to speak on this topic.
I'm not necessarily for any kind of policy change or anything, but I would like to state that I would like to be given, Mark is right, dredge updates. We gotta have somebody here to at least say, hey, look, these are our upcoming plans. This is what we'd like to do. That way we can talk about that sort of thing, because this seems to be a huge topic, and we definitely need somebody here to speak on that behalf, because we're not experts on it. So
Sam, I've been coming 9 months. This is 9 months, and I come
Sure,
for that one
sure.
reason. That's it. That's all I'm here for. Is that
I
9 months? I come for one reason.
for somebody to speak and give us updates on what is going on, what may have happened, that sort of thing.
But we need
because if I speak on it, I know nothing about it.
And we need a subject matter expert, and none of us are
Right. And
subject
it would
matter
be
experts.
nice to know an upcoming permit before it just arrives.
I agree.
We can see it doing work.
So Katie, out of this discussion, we do need to find that subject matter expert, and
Okay, I think it would be helpful, because you say dredging, so specifically, which dredging permits or projects are we talking
Or any
about?
of-
Anything
any of-
in that area, or is there a
any of the
specific
local
one?
operations, hell, even in the ship channel, if it's further north up in.
So
that
anything in
area,
Calcasieu Lake,
anything
you want
going on
a
would be
monthly,
Be nice, well, not necessarily a monthly, but if there is a project going on,
New information.
give us maybe some insight on what their next intentions are, or what their permits are, and where the placement's gonna be, that sort of thing. That way we are very clear about what's happening.
okay. From CPRA, if it's their project, or from the engineer of record, would you prefer more of a
From-
technical update?
From the dredge company, from the, if it's coming from CP2, where it's going, that sort of
I
thing.
think
So
the
permit
design.
specific?
I think the
Yeah.
design folks. I mean, the people doing the work is only doing what they're being told to do.
Right.
I think it needs to come from the design folks to give an update on something of such. They're the ones that create the design and move forward on that.
Yeah, and just to clarify a little bit more into the weeds, if something happens and there's an accident, or a mishap, just let us and the public know what's going on, what's their plan of action. Keep us informed to where we're not receiving 10,000 phone calls when the line blows up or something to that nature. Come address the public in that. Look, progress is a growing pain. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like it. I mean, unfortunately, it's a growing pain. They'll have to get used of it or learn to cope with it. But again, transparency is the best key. Just inform them, because at the end of the day, it's all public record. People could pull it. So why not be able to have an update and be transparent with the public, instead of having a room full of people come here and give us documents that they pulled off of the state's or whoever's website. Let's just get some updates out there and move forward.
And not even on the, not even just on the spoil aspect, recreational fishermen, that dredge pipe is dangerous. And I've, had guys call me, here locally within the last month or two about dredge pipe not being marked, that sort of thing. So it would be nice to know if there's a project going on in an area that we, cause I could say, heck, I don't even know where this dredge pipe is. It'd be nice to know, So.
Okay. Anything else from the jury?
So is this something that you want us to request from DNR on a monthly basis? Do you want staff just to kind of have a relationship with them, to say, hey, put us on notice if you're about to conduct activities? We would request for you to come to police jury meeting prior to doing any type of activities and informing the
Well,
public.
I would say that CPRA come here and talk to us, but then it was we never heard nothing again on that topic, and I think I might be mistaken, getting mixed up, but didn't they not do that project?
They did, and they got bought out, so to speak.
Right.
But yeah,
That's-
just
that's what I'm saying. It just falls off the table. So it's just to keep that in front and keep everybody updated, because Sam does make a good point. That's a safety concern that, that dredge pipe needs to be, people need to know what's going on.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're reaching out to the appropriate agency, like what type of updates you are requesting.
Correct.
If they're gonna, they can't notify us every time that they move a piece of equipment, I understand that. But if there is a significant project going on in an area, or if they're creating, new spoil areas, through any kind of permit, I think we need to, before it gets to us, we'd like to be at least a little bit educated on what's about to happen.
I know at the moment, I'd like to request from CPRA if VG or the Cameron Parish Port Board, whoever permit it is, because still today, nobody is clear from the state, the port, or anybody of whose project it is, who holds accountability, who is the project holder. It's very unclear, and I talked to everybody from top to bottom. So CPRA, I'd like to clarify if they could update us whenever they get a hydraulic study that includes CP1 and 2, because we was told in the meeting that that's not on the hydraulic study, because we have a lot of people, which the president asked me to get letters from everybody involved, because if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. So I have quite a few letters. Can we get those two issues, if VG use CPRA on private properties, to know if the spoils was there before versus after? Secondly, the hydraulic study, just update us when that new study is conducted to reflect. Then with LDNR, which they changed their name to something science or whatever, I'm not too familiar with that yet. But if we can get with Mr. Kyle, because we took him out there and he touched on everything, he was spot on, except for the spoil. And again, he's asking for documentation if anybody thinks that there's any spoil outside, which there's great documentation to VG from the landowners to myself, from myself to them. So we just need an update to reflect what's truly out there. Or we need a meeting for everybody to come together, CPRA, VG, us, and the port in one room, to where it's not he said, she said. We just want a clear path forward. Again, it's growing pains, it's process. Stuff happens when you got a lot of moving parts, and we all know they have a lot of moving parts. So it's just to get a hold of the situation and for us to be informed, to be able to talk with our constituents. Because look, I don't know about these guys. I get calls every day about the dredge, about the boats, about wanting to move the firing line, just all kind of stuff associated with this. So that is a big deal down here in the Cameron area. So just a few updates.
So to properly state for the record, the president's Michael Fuel, and I said that we need to make sure we have the right chain of command. And if we have a drainage problem, those things start with the board. And if the board recognized this as an issue or doesn't recognize it as an issue, the landowner needs to get with the drainage board, and that's where it needs to start. And then if it moves on to the police jury. But the first stop is not the police jury. The first stop is the drainage board, if there is a drainage issue. So just want to make sure that's clear for the record.
Well, just to clear, Mr. Fuel and Mr. President, you're misspeaking, and what me and you discussed was clearly to get the people to do it. The first stop is with the jury after the state, before the project even takes place. And what this is somebody that did not follow their permit, in my opinion. I'm not a legal expert, so if we want to start clearing the record, we could clear it very clear.
Okay, not arguing.
It's not an argue, it's a statement.
Back 10, 15 years ago, Howard Romero and the school teacher and I went to the Corps engineers, went to the Port of Lake Charles, supposedly with Venture Global and Commonwealth and anybody else was coming in here, and we requested that they armor line impoundments on this river, just like they did. And since we've had those meetings, they've done a lot of it south of Cameron LNG, and you can see where that's building up. And I've always been opposed to marsh restoration for a lot of reasons. And if you look at those permits, the best I can remember, whenever we were reading those permits, they specifically stated that they could do certain things and pump in, but if the material that was pumped in there was detrimental to the marsh, they had to immediately stop and come up with a different plan, which I don't think they've done. They just continued to pump. But if they would armor lined like they did south of Hackberry, about halfway of what I projected to do, and is that we wouldn't be here today worried about that as much, because it would be in there. You wouldn't have the spills, you wouldn't have the saltwater intrusion in our marshes, because they're pumping all that silt in there with saltwater. That to me, it was just, and I'm not a hydrologist or a biologist, but it just didn't make sense to me where we could do that, re-armor our channel, get the salinities level down in the lake, which the reason we had to put weirs in was because all the lake, the river eroded, and all that lake that was freshwater at one time is now saltwater, and it would cure a whole lot of problems and solve a lot of their problems with a lot of the public opinion or concerns about what's going on today. And I know that's, you know, you can come in and do all reports all you want to. If from here on out they would look at doing something like that versus that, we'd be in a lot better shape. In my
You're
opinion.
exactly right, Mr. Winston.
So if you're speaking correctly, if the global gods are listening, we need armored ship channels, what you're saying?
Yes, and look, they listened some because all that up there done by Hackberry was done after we went up there, and we went numerous times and made those speeches, and they said the cost was just, and my deal was what the cost if say Venture Global or Commonwealth, they have the right to try to permit however they do and get by with what they do. But on the same page, if they would armor line that and spoiled into there, we would have killed two birds or more than one bird in the storm. We would have helped our lake out. We would have helped keep the channel deeper for Lake Charles, which would have possibly kept them a little happier. We would have had embankments, like I say, to lower the salinity levels in the lake, hopefully. And then you're not pumping salt water into the marsh to put the spoils in there, even though there's some marsh restoration, which we need, but you don't do it with material that's full of salt, I don't think.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Wendell, you need to
Just
speak
to
more,
get
sir,
back
'cause that's
on the,
exactly correct.
We preached that for 20 years,
Well,
and this is what we got.
you have to get to the you have to solve the problem before you can fix the marsh. You're exactly right.
So anyways, just to get back on topic, this all
Yeah,
started with the
before-
meeting policy revisions. And
Yeah, Mr. Fuel, before he goes, I just want to make sure I'm clear before we leave. So you're requesting to staff to review any currently open permits that are involving dredging and or marsh creation activities, and you want us to reach out to those entities and request them to come provide an update on their ongoing activities, projected timelines, if they're currently under construction, where they're at, their projected ending, project end date. Does that sound like I recapped everything that you all wanted?
Sounds,
And you want it permit specific, right?
Look at this reason.
Not funded, not from the funding source. You want it per permit. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just here to talk on public meetings. I've heard for the last several months, Mr. Daigle put a nice article or ad in the paper the other day about his position. And so I'll start with, this meeting is not intended to be an open forum for the public. That's a misconception, but it's up to you to decide how open you want it to be. The law provides, and I'm gonna read from your Police Jury Association manual, which is almost 500 pages, covers all kinds of subjects. If you don't have it, let me know. I'll send it to Mary. Mary can send it to you. It's a wonderful publication. And on page 62, it talks about public comment of public meetings. And I'm just going to read from it because it's not Tom Barrett, it's not any, it's your association, but it accurately reflects the law. And it focuses on revised statute title 42:D as in Delta. So those that want to go read it themselves, they may. But this is what the manual says. each meeting of the police jury or any committee thereof shall provide an opportunity for the public comment at each such meeting, subject to reasonable rules, regulations, and restrictions as adopted by the police jury. The intent of this statute is to afford the public a right to comment on issues being discussed at each particular meeting. It is not intended to give the public a chance to address the council, or in this case the jury, on issues unrelated to those being discussed at the meeting. Before an action is taken on an agenda item upon which a vote is to be taken, there shall be a public comment period. Parishes may adopt reasonable rules and restrictions regarding such comment period. Although a citizen has the right to give public comment at a public meeting, there is no right that the citizen be allowed to add items to the agenda for discussion. They cite some Attorney General's opinions and whatnot, but that's in essence what it says. So, the gist of that, and reading the Attorney General's opinion, reading the statute, so forth and so on, y'all have a procedure and policy for setting agendas. You have an agenda for the agenda meeting, and you have a voting meeting agenda. You all decide that. And the public may comment on those items. And to be very specific, and again, it's those items that you're going to take action. So if you're going to vote on something, the public is entitled to comment on that action item, I'll call it, that's on your agenda. You can put in reasonable regulations, 5 minutes, so to speak, give them a 5-minute limit. You expect a certain decorum. I don't think anybody will be up here cussing, yelling, but those are the things that you all decide, and you run your meetings as you see fit. But that's what the law provides. It's not a First Amendment right. It's not an open public meeting in the sense that anybody can talk about anything. It's just what's on your agenda. But again, you decide how you want to run your meetings. So, if you have any questions.
So, Mr. Tom, I got one question just specifically about freedom of speech. So we can trump the Constitution and not allow people to speak freely on the topics that are on the agendas.
That's not what I said. If it's on the agenda and it's an action item, then you have to give the public an opportunity to comment. But you can put certain regulations in place, such as a time limit.
Correct.
And expect a certain decorum.
Expect is a broad word. Is that expect?
Again, that's up to y'all. Y'all decide how you want, what level of, I'll say, decorum, professionalism you want at your meeting. That's up to you. And the president runs the meeting. So, and the law provides if the president feels someone is being disruptive, whatever that may mean, then they can be escorted and told to leave the meeting.
Correct.
And I don't think we've ever had that happen, or maybe come close, but again, that is up to the president how he wants and expects the meeting. And you all have some influence. I mean, you are all colleagues. Y'all have some say-so with the president of what that looks like. And again, that's up to y'all.
Yep. Understood. And then one more thing, you was talking about just say a constituent adding an add-on. Can you go into more clarity about an add-on for a juror to add, and when's the right time and how to do it? Because from what the administration said in the last meeting versus till today is kind of a little foggy. So can you clarify that for me, please, sir?
So you have so you start this morning with your agenda meeting and your voting meeting. You have an agenda for both. That's how historically it's been done for some number of years. You have a policy in place that talks about, and again, it's general in nature of how those agendas get created. Primarily, it's your president and your administrator with input from you all to the president. Mary's involved, I'm involved. So that's how your agendas get created. And the question is, how do you add on? And again, you all add on to your voting meeting on a regular basis. Has to be a motion, a second, unanimous vote to add on an item to the voting meeting. So I don't know that's just historically and procedurally how it's worked. So
Correct, because it sounds like we're going off on a lot of what the jury sets in place in policy and procedures when it comes to meetings, which I don't think we can trump certain laws just because the jury decides to make a policy and procedures, which they probably could until it's challenged. But what kind of more so what I was getting at, say if I do an agenda item, just like on stuff when we create a vote, if I just say vote to do an add-on, well, I voted to do an add-on, there's gonna be a line item for it to be added on for a vote, specifically on the voting meeting, but it adds for comment before you get to an add-on, which usually, and historically, if we wanna talk historically, you state that in the agenda meeting. It allows the public to give concerns, if any. It allows the jury to give concerns, if any, to the jurors for the vote. And earlier I was advised that it has to wait for a vote. So how do we educate the jurors on the vote when the process is working backwards?
And I don't, so there are no, there's no statute that talks about how an agenda gets created. Robert's Rules of Order, historical policies, procedures of how it's been done. That's what we rely on. And you have a policy. But, so, in your instance, you may, there's something on the agenda, and I'm gonna use it because I think it's something, just by way of example, on the voting meeting, let's say, for instance, consider revisions for the public records request policy. So that is on your voting meeting. Let's just assume that was not, okay? And you wanted it on there. So y'all would have a discussion this morning about an add-on in your agenda meeting. Typically, that's what you do. And then after that discussion among you all, the president usually will direct your secretary, Ms. Mary, to put that on the voting agenda. But then y'all have to, at the voting, when it comes to the add-on, you have to have a motion and second, so it has to be voted in, right? And at that point, the public is entitled to comment on it.
So I guess, just for clarity, that way we don't keep ending up back at this point. Say right now, the way the agenda is, should it have a place on our agenda meeting for an add-on? Because I was told I couldn't add it on because it don't have a line item for an add-on. And from what you're saying, it sounds like we could do an add-on up for discussion, and then if the jury votes for it not to even go to a vote at the voting meeting, that's to me, that's generally how it works, correct?
Yeah, so you have two different agendas this morning. You're correct. Your agenda meeting,
Yes, sir.
does not have a provision for add-ons. But if you want something added on to the voting meeting, which comes later, you have that policy procedure is in place.
Correct.
And at that point in time, and again, y'all can discuss it at your agenda meeting, and if you all agree, and it's not really agree, but if Mr. Fuel
So
says,
at the voting meeting,
based on your discussion, the president says, Mary, put it on the voting meeting for our consideration as an add-on. Voting meeting comes this afternoon at whatever time, Mr. Fuel brings up, we have an add-on.
yeah.
Now it's up for public comment and debate.
So just say
I
today.
don't know, if I explained it, do y'all understand what I just said?
I understand wholeheartedly.
Okay, all right, just make sure,
100%.
yeah.
The problem is, as it sits right now, what you're telling me and what's taking place is not happening, because I was told I couldn't do an add-on on the agenda for discussion because there's not a line item for it. However, you're saying we do it, talk about it, and then if it's deemed to do the add-on, we do it, and then, it has to vote unanimously to pass.
Well,
Is that correct?
And the idea, the whole thing about an add-on is that it's a last-minute actionable item. If it's not an actionable item, then
Ultimately, the president decides what the agenda looks like at the end of the day,
Right.
and that's fair. And again, y'all discuss an item. If, based on that discussion, the president feels like it's an item that some of you may or may not want to hear, or
Correct.
may not want to put on the voting meeting,
He could kick it off the
He could
agenda.
say, we're
to
not
even
even gonna
have
put it on we'll put it on next month or whatever. He may not feel it's appropriate at this time to add it to the voting meeting.
I agree.
But if he feels like it's something that the jurors feel strongly about, he'll put it on the voting meeting for consideration. And again, at that point in time, motion,
So-
second, comment, discussion, do we add it or not? You gotta get past that decision before you vote on the item.
To vote on it, correct. I'm talking about for open discussion, just to discuss, educate, how do we get it on the agenda? I hear what you're saying, Mr. Tom, and I'm tracking. Again, I'm told it don't have a line item in our agenda meeting. At what point as a juror can I say, hey, I would like to do this and open the
You
floor?
would like
to
to-
discuss?
This is
Like-
what I will say. There's 6, 7, and 8 that is all juror Daigle. So he's well aware of how to put it on the agenda and talk about it. However, when he comes to me and he asks for things that are non-actionable for the jury, then we can't, and that's what the whole picture here, the jury wants to get professional, wants to get orderly, and wants to have these meetings start flowing on things that we can accomplish. There's a lot of things that are brought to us that we personally cannot accomplish in this meeting. Now, our staff can help those accomplishments move forward, but they're not during this meeting. And if anybody brings something to our staff and it is not moving forward, my cell phone is on our parish website. Call me and I will get involved and make sure. But as a jury, this is a jury meeting, not a juror meeting. This is a jury. So at the end of the day, we have to stay with actionable items that we can move forward as a jury.
So, Mr. Fuel, I will say this, because multiple jurors done called you and didn't want 6, 7, or 8 on there. Just like another one, I wanted not consideration, because I didn't ask for consideration of the dredging for a state of emergency. I did not ask for that. I asked for a state of emergency. However, it was worded to reflect what the majority of the jury wants. So it's a consideration, which is nothing more than something to appease somebody. So it does not work accordingly. And Mr. Anthony right there, that's raising his hands, done asked this jury in a public setting multiple times, month after month, for an update every month to be on the agenda. So I'm going to have to 100% disagree with you on how it's being conducted.
That's your American right.
Yeah, and you're right, Mr. Daggett. So what we attempt to do to make these meetings run more smoothly, quicker, well, first I'll say that y'all may be part-time, but you're like me, your phone rings 24/7.
Yes, sir.
And you can't say no to the public. So that's what we signed up for. But don't sell yourself short. I mean, I understand it's 24/7. But when it comes to these meetings, I read off what the general rules in your police jury association says. It's not an open forum. The president decides what this meeting looks like. In our discussions a week or so ago, before we discussed the many things that you wanted on this agenda, the voting. And we added 3 or 4 of them, and 2 or 3 of them didn't get added for whatever reason. And I think Mr. Fuel has taken the position that if it's not something that this jury can take action on, that they don't feel like that you all can do something about whatever the situation is, then it may be a waste of time to hear from the party, because y'all aren't the one that they need to be complaining to. And,
Correct.
And if we, in our discussion, we can then direct them privately of where to go. At the end of the day, the president decides. He gave you some discretion on 3 things on the agenda that I don't
Yes,
think
sir.
you're not gonna take action on any of them, I don't believe. But yet gave you the opportunity to discuss those in a public forum. But at the end of the day, the president decides what this meeting looks like this morning. If y'all want to change the voting meeting agenda, there is a procedure to do that, and we've discussed how that happens, and y'all do it all the time, and I don't know what else to say about that, so.
No, correct, and I agree. And my statement about being an open meeting for somebody to bring anything after agenda item was merely to have transparency and allow that, because from the sounds of it, I don't think we're going to be having town hall meetings every month to get that input. Because my thing is, Mr. Fuel's right how it works, and I did meet Mr. Fuel in the middle with one of my items because I wanted to get the letters that he thought would hold some weight on the state of emergency. So I worked with him on that. However, my issue is, at one point in time, I would give it off to the staff and hand it to the staff. However, that's not a good alleyway for me to go. I started using Miss Katie and no staff. That's not a good way for me to go. So I try getting the people to get with the staff, and for whatever reasons, most of the time it pans out and works good. However, sometimes it don't. And then when we get in a discussion, say like there's an AG opinion we all voted on unanimously in January that still has not been sent off. So it's just a matter of this is an open setting to have record to where it's not he said, she said for me, and to keep business flowing and not having stuff, because look, everybody's busy, stuff gets forgot about. So if I can't bring it up in a public setting to keep the light shining on it, kind of like the sunshine law, you know, it's hard to get business moving forward. And you're right, the votes are for a jury, not a juror. But as a juror, everything I'm bringing up is from the majority of my district, not everybody's district. However, most of the time, some of it comes from every part of the parish that I bring. So I do agree this is a jury decision when it comes to a vote, but a juror should be able to have a place at the table to talk and discuss about the problems that Mr. Anthony got's one of them. Just to kind of give an example, it's been 9 months. All that man wants is just an update. That I think is legit. So that's all I'm getting at. And
Okay.
I'll leave it there. I won't continue to keep going.
You're gonna have, so with respect to, I think, Mr. Terrio's and others' concerns about some of the dredging issues, you're gonna face some reluctance or reservations about some of these entities coming to speak before you, because now they are either in litigation or they've received hundreds of letters of threat of litigation.
Correct.
And with that said, usually, you know, everybody lawyers up.
Correct.
And you're not. So if there is a reluctance for them to provide an update, it's because their lawyers have said, don't go up there because whatever you say may and will be used against you, so forth and so on.
Correct.
I'll just say, I mean,
But-
'cause that's happening right now.
Mr. Tom,
It's happening.
in reference to permits, though, they should be able to come up here and talk about a permit and what's going on and.
Yeah,
what-
it's
what's gonna-
that just the
Correct.
If it's
particulars
alive
of what's
and in action-
happening, yeah.
If it's a live and in action permit, absolutely. But if we're talking history, it's gonna be.
they're gonna have some reservations about talking about what happened 2 months ago or 6 months ago. I'm just saying, just be
So
prepared.
Tom, how do we find out who is the go-to person, or who is the person that say we should be having meetings like this with our concerns, not in a public setting, so to speak, for the nature of it, but to bring our concerns to, because like I said, still today, I'm not an expert, and it all says the Cameron Parish Port Board, then they're saying it's just say VG for this specific, not picking on them, just using them because I'm very familiar with it. And they're all saying it's VG, but then I got a letter that VG's legal counsel sent that stated they're only helping in a capacity of basically funding the process or something to that nature, if I
think this goes
remember
back
correctly.
to what Mr. Barrett said. It's history and then litigation, and some things are gonna be limited.
I understand it's limited, but somebody should be able to tell us who's the project for and who's the go-to. Instead of going to all these different other people or agencies or whatever, somebody should say, for this permit, this is the go-to, this is the person in charge, this is who's, I'm trying to.
I
think
would,
of the
so,
word.
yeah, in an attempt to make these meetings go more smoothly, now we're about 45 minutes into 6, 7, and 8, but, Mr. Daigle has identified, Mr. Fuel has identified on your voting meeting, permits of state, that basically the state is issuing and all you're doing is objecting or not objecting.
Correct.
Which, I don't know if an objection really holds much water to a state permit, but regardless. And then you have your actual parish permits. To again, help the public understand what permits we are issuing as opposed to what permits the state are issuing. Those state permits, I think Kara could probably tell you what state entity is issuing. Probably CPRA would be the primary one, I would think, but it can tell you who's issuing that, and from there, who her contact is, and that may be the person that your staff communicates with to say, hey, we'd like a quarterly update. What's happening, what's the plan of action over the next 6 months? I would think that in hearing you, what you're asking for, what Katie's asking for, and what Kara may be able to help provide to y'all, I would think. But
Hey, for the sake of time, Mr. Nunez has a comment on this.
This for my constituents and the people of the parish.
I'm gonna go sit down.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
So what I find is someone calls me with a concern, whatever it may be. 99% of the time, the staff and administration is able to handle those problems. If it has to come before the jury, then I request the president to have it on the agenda. And then he determines with the other jurors, I guess, by talking to the other jurors or your decision to getting it on the agenda, if it's something the jury can handle. A lot of cases, federal and state issues, we can't handle. And but just for all the residents of Cameron Parish, we are here to help in any way we can. But if it's out of our hands, we can't, and I'm even the sewer we talked about earlier, that is regulated by a state agency. I don't think we have any jurisdiction really.
We do have a voice to stand up for our people whenever they're affected and not following their own rules and regulations. We sure, and that's what we're represented to do, is represent the people, are we not? So I think that is a big part of our policy. However, whether it's state or local, I agree with you. We don't have much concern, but we can sure tell them what the people think about what's going on in our parish.
Can I ask you one question, Michael?
Not at this time.
This is
Thank you.
stupid, man.
Okay, we're gonna move on from this topic and we're gonna move on to reviewing the voting agenda.
Yeah, you listen to people, all right.
Okay, well, I guess we can move, so let's go ahead, before we go through the jury, let's go to the green cards, and Katie, if you don't mind, please keep this at 5 minutes, per green card. Mr. Jeremy Waltrip, subject, conflicting reports on item 22 of the agenda.
So before we move on, point of order, Mr. President, where on our agenda meeting it has green cards or public comment?
Well, it actually has it on the voting session.
I'm actually going to change my topic. I'm going to talk about Mark's topic.
Is it referred to an agenda?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So March 26th, 46 days ago, I wanted to be on the agenda today with a number of people. Miss Katie had planned a meeting. We all agreed to it on April 9th. The district attorney canceled a meeting April 20th, 4 hours before the meeting due to a legal lawsuit filed on my behalf, which there was no law. I didn't file a lawsuit on nobody. So that was a lie. Now I'm here today, and I'm not happy about it. So I want to be heard. I got stuff that I need to tell this dang police sheriff. Because y'all ain't going to do nothing, y'all need to at least hear about it. And it's BS that y'all going to sit there and try to say, we only going to hear select stuff. No, that's your job. Your job is actually for the people. And the Constitution says that. Elected officials are for the people, not for the businesses. Right. And it seems like y'all been doing more businesses than y'all been doing people lately. So do you want to know facts? Or do you want to just, you can tell me to go and I'll go.
Tell us the facts.
But it's on the dredging.
Tell us facts.
You got time.
Here.
Delta Consulting. Nobody challenged them, nobody. Y'all let Venture Global do the investigation. So you let the bank robbers hire their legal team to find the bank robbers. Nobody witnessed that. Nobody from Cameron Parish that I could find publicly. Nobody from the state did it publicly. And y'all expect us to buy that? Well, let me tell you one thing I am an expert in. I got 26 years of oil and gas experience. I do this all the time for a living, investigate. And I'm gonna tell you what I did investigate. I investigated this report that Delta did on our lake that was not challenged. And we still, to this day, don't have any sampling, no testing. And that was y'all's job. Y'all should have had somebody do that independently. You cannot tell the public, the residents, the local fishermen, anybody. I mean, people's got camps. That's how it is. So I went over this with one of my engineers offshore to about 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 nights in a row. And we took this report and we literally dissected it pretty easily. So the mud blisters, which is a small sample, five oysters, no, and it says no overall pattern of concern for mud blisters. You had 5 oysters, which is the weakest in any kind of stud. I mean, come on, 5 oysters. Then none of them were tested for contamination or disease. Then they admitted they only had stations with 2 oysters available for testing. So what confidence or what level are y'all gonna say that 5 oysters is gonna tell us that there was nothing in this lake that was messed up? So there was the water sampling we can't find. Was there any water sampling done? Why wasn't the private oyster leases, Terrios, tested? Why they didn't have any oyster tested on this project? Then in the report it says sediment overly burdened the dredge samples that was documented. Chenier Reef, Lambert Reef, which is 2.4, 2.7 miles from nowhere. They acknowledged sediment was in the discharged area, but they minimized it, and this is our finding, they minimized it by saying that it may have contributed to mortality, may have. No testing, no toxicity, nothing in that report. So how much sediment was deposited? Where's the core analysis of that performed? Where's that information? Then let's go on to the environmental. So the whole report basically says that the mortality was from salinity, oyster drills, stone crabs, natural cycles. The report is heavily generalized on environmental. It's not analyzed on the dredge at all. Its correlation is assumed without exclusive testing. So what test ruled out the dredge? None. No test did. None. And then, let's see, well, I'm gonna go on here. I got so many notes. So it says the overall total mortalities of all stations in the lake do not show substantial difference. Let me tell you what, that's the most easiest thing to debunk. Because you can dilute the numbers when you use the overall situation and not the local. I see this in oil and gas industry all the time. You throw in unnecessary numbers to dilute it. So we don't know what the impact area was because they didn't use it in the test. They used the whole lake in the test.
Mr. Walter, your time's up.
So, Mr. Walter, I'd like to answer a couple of your questions. One of which, it sounds like you're very familiar with the documents and paperwork. I read in the Wildlife and Fisheries report, I don't know if you saw that, which I'm sure you probably gathered it from them. They stated that what's causing the mud blister worms is from high salinity and a lot of sediment, basically, in my opinion, is how they referred to it. Which to me, in my opinion, and common sense tells me, knowing they're using salt water to pump the silt back there, that's increasing the salinity. They had silt come out, so it's obviously, they're not saying it, but they're saying, in my opinion, without being an expert, again, my opinion, is to me, they're reflecting solely it is there. And Wildlife and Fisheries done this because I pushed for this to be done, and I think Mr. Sam, I bounced a few ideas off of him because he, like I said, every one of us has a different background, different way of doing business, and Mr. Sam brings a lot to the table as far as stuff like this, and he's usually my go-to, and I appreciate that, Sam. And we've been bouncing ideas and talking about wildlife fishery stuff, so what we can and can't do. Honestly, I don't know what we can and can't do as a jury. I do know we're over Calcasieu Lake in some capacity. However, I've been talking with the gentleman with Wildlife and Fisheries. He told me I actually got one of the fishermen to call him and ask him what revised statute is he following? That way I could look it up and see exactly what he referred to, because when I talked to him, he did say we was over Calcasieu Lake in a capacity, along with Coast Guard and, you know, different authority and state agencies. So we definitely have a dog in the fight. What fight is that? I don't know wholeheartedly, because now being everybody's filing lawsuits, they're getting a little nervous to give you just public records rather than asking them, hey, you know, we can't go into details on reports and stuff like that right now. Everybody's clamming up because lawsuits. I get that. I understand that. However, as government, state, and local agencies, we should still be able to talk about the permit itself and the documents at hand that's on record.
Mark, if you don't mind, can you please wrap this up, please?
Yeah, I'll
But
do it.
there's
If you want to put me on a time frame, put me on a time frame.
Let me just give you one
Mr.
more
President.
thing. There's studies out there. There's plenty of them. There's a lot of them. That dredge mud is more hurtful, harmful than the oil spills.
100%. And all settlement has a footprint. Knowing that from past life as a dirt and construction work, it's simple. Get a sample and sample it. It'll tell you where it come from. It's got a footprint. It's kind of like a person. It's got a DNA, so to speak. But no, I'm good with that, Mr. President. And in the future, if you want me to limit my speech, please put me on a time frame.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I talk one
Yep,
minute?
go ahead.
1 minute, 1 minute.
Thank you, Jeremy.
By no means am I a spoil expert, but this, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, is all originated from the ship channel in general, overall. You put spoil, you dig spoil out of a channel, you put it on the banks of the ship channel and don't armor line it. When it sloughs back off into the water, in my opinion, it's still dredge spoil, right? When it gets wet. So all this erosion over time that was due to the ship channel, a lot of this could have been avoided by putting it behind armored walls. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, thank you.
So the gentleman just spoke, I don't know him personally, but there was a series of emails requesting a meeting, I think through Kim, it came through me and Katie. Ultimately, I guess this Delta company, who again, I don't know who they are and never met with them and didn't know who they were until this happened, in which Ventures Litigation Counsel contacted me and said, hey, Delta is our consultant, our expert. They've been asked to go to a meeting. We don't want them to go to a meeting. We're in litigation or threat of litigation. So, so based on that, I said, yeah, let's cancel the meeting. There's no point in me and Katie and Kim sitting around talking to the gentleman when we're not, experts on the subject. And I sent something to Katie, and it had a mixed message, may have then got relayed to the gentleman incorrectly. There is a lawsuit filed in Calcasieu Parish that includes Venture Global over this August 2025 spill, which is regarding a permit that the port was the public sponsor of that permit. But also, Venture's attorneys provided me with some letters. We call them preservation of evidence and basically a threat of litigation letter that lawyers send to big companies so they don't get rid of evidence, so to speak. And I told the lawyer I don't need all. I think these 80 to 100 letters that he'd received from different lawyers for different claimants. But the one he sent me, I guess, was since this gentleman was asking for the meeting, he sent me a copy. So the gentleman, while he hasn't filed a lawsuit, he has threatened litigation against Venture, which ultimately will probably include the port because everybody gets sued when these kind of cases. So with all that in mind, while he has not filed a suit, he has filed a preservation of evidence letter to Venture, which is now we are aware of, along with dozens of other letters. And I have advised the port that they basically need to quit talking about what happened in August of 2025 because we're going to potentially be part of litigation. And any conversation or any comments made will be made in depositions and through legal discovery. And that's the proper procedure at this point because there is the threat of litigation. So while, yes, he has not filed a lawsuit, he has filed a letter threatening litigation, which resulted in the termination or the cancellation of his meeting.
So would your advisement to the port board be any different to the police jury?
Well, But anything that you talk about is hearsay or almost irrelevant. I mean, what do y'all know? It's not your permit, it's not your project. You didn't, I mean, you approve permits like you approve everything, but at the end of the day, you have no say-so except through the port, which is a subsidiary of you, but it's run by a board. The permit was issued by that board. That board has some leased property that the state has leased to the port, so many acres for this oyster farm. So the port does have some, I guess, skin in the game, because they want that oyster farm to prosper. So that I'm sure, they want to know what's happening with their tenants. So I would assume, they do have a vested interest in that oyster farm, what's happening. But at the end of the day, your opinion is no different than mine or anybody else sitting out here. You can say whatever you want, but I would be just cautious about what you say, because you will end up in a deposition in maybe 7 or 8 hours. Y'all weren't part of y'all didn't have to participate in the litigation with the coastal use permits, but I know Katie, Kara, your previous colleagues who were on this board did, maybe Sonny, hours upon hours of depositions, all day depositions, and that's just the nature of litigation. If you want to sit for hours and hours in depositions and all this litigation that's coming, then you keep talking about what happened in August of 2025, and you'll be invited to a deposition. Now you can go sit you can talk to whoever you want and say whatever you want, but I just caution you, there is litigation, and both sides are looking for information that they can use to their advantage, and I don't think you want to be in the middle of that.
With that said, that kind of explains the position on the jury. We're not trying to keep people from speaking on this, but it is in legal matters, which we really do not want to be a part of. And that was the other green card was on the same topic, so I will make the decision. We're gonna move on to review the voting agenda.
You do realize I live here, right? And I come up here to every meeting, right?
Yes, sir, we can visit after the meeting.
Yeah. I come here to talk at a meeting, just like everybody else.
Okay, would y'all like to go through the voting agenda?
Okay, before we go through the voting agenda, I do have an update for you guys. We did have that special session, aka town hall meeting, a few weeks ago. There were a few concerns that were brought up. Most were addressed in the meeting, mainly the traffic issues. DOTD was here and our sheriff was here. Like, they properly heard the concerns, addressed the issues and the concerns immediately. Any other traffic concerns should be sent directly to the sheriff or to DOTD. They both gave their contact information. The one outstanding concern that was tasked to staff was the air pollutant concern. So just to follow up, we met with the regional manager on May 5th. Mr. Sonny and I met with her. She came to Cameron. She looked around in person. It was the first time she'd actually been to Cameron in quite a while, she said, so she was pretty surprised by all the ongoing construction activities. And so she had, initially Friday before our town hall meeting, they had sent us a letter specifically addressing a lot of the Venture Global concerns. That letter is up for your review. But initially, during our preliminary conversations, we mainly talked about the concerns and the complaints that were filed to you as a jury. And she said at that time she had not received any official complaints from any residents in Cameron Parish. So she showed me how to file a complaint, and so I will walk you guys through it, and for the benefit of the public, just to see how easy it is. You go to DEQ's website, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there is a report incident complaint. And you click on it, and it's the first option, and it's that simple. Put your name in, what your complaint is, if you have any supporting documents you want to upload, and you click submit. It takes about less than 5 minutes. I did file one on behalf of one of your residents that complained. At the conclusion of our town hall meeting, I had 2 residents actually send me an email telling me what their concerns were. I actually had one picture sent to me. So I filed one on behalf of both of those complaints, and it is in its 10-day investigation period. They say they investigate 100% of all complaints within 10 days. And so they will be out here in person over the next 10 days to conduct some research, and they will follow back up with us. And as soon as I get that information, I will share it with you guys.
Ms. Katie,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ms. Katie, air quality monitors, did y'all talk about that and address that?
We did. We discussed the one that was in Benton and what maybe it would take to relocate that into Cameron. The one thing that she did clarify, though, it is just a monitor. So you're just going to be looking at real-time numbers. It does not identify the source of those contaminants. And so if that was the goal of the jury to want to know, exactly what the source of all the contaminants were, this air monitoring station would not do that. It would just give you a in real-time reading of what's going on in this radius.
Point of order, Mr. President. I'm wondering what line item or action item is Ms. Katie referring to? I don't see nothing on the agenda or the voting meeting for that, for one. For two, I want the record to show that this could end up in litigation also, and there are complaints and forms, but we're going to refuse to let somebody speak on an action item. I just want that to be known in the record.
Okay.
She was speaking on behalf of a special meeting that we had last
Old business.
As y'all holding me accountable to put and go through the proper process, nobody done add on for this information to be discussed at this meeting. And I believe you can recite the open meeting laws if y'all need to.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay.
Okay, so
Any other questions?
moving on to the agenda items. Item 6 are your state concern permits. There are 6.
Mr.
They're
Mayor,
up for your review. Yes, sir.
we did have one, add-on. I don't know if we want,
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Go ahead.
sorry, that was number 5.
Number 5.
This is the authority to advertise the closing of Parish Road 3115, Gale Street, Cameron, to public traffic for approximately 2 years due to the construction of CP2.
Gale Street, you said?
Yes.
Yes, sir. That was the motion that was taken in this.
This is to add it, Ms. Katie.
Yeah.
Hey.
Okay, it was initially tabled in December, and you want to add it on for consideration of the voting meeting?
We'll just tell them.
Yes,
take
please.
one more green card. Yeah.
Mr. President, there's a request for an add-on.
Yeah. Move,
Mary?
move with the add-on.
Okay, Gale Street.
Mr. President, I'd like to do an add-on as well.
Okay.
I'd like the authority to re-advertise an O8 zone ordinance, adding the entrance of Kelso Bayou, the first portion where those homeowners are, and then also removing East Fork from that O8 zone.
Okay.
And
Move.
also, I think Mr. Daigle had some, not the full loop, can you explain?
Correct. I was called by numerous people, and I think they hold a little weight to their concerns. They said, why are we closing, say, for the loop, the whole loop, and not just where the fishermen are tying up? They expressed their concern that, yes, they would like to see where the fishermen tie up or any designated areas, but not the whole loop. Because they were saying it would take a lot of time to make a trip. And in the old river, maybe we could do something for butterflying seasons and that versus not having them idle through the whole loop at any given time. So I think we probably should have a lot more discussion because I think Mr. Sam and myself has been getting quite a few phone calls about the no-wake zones.
So if we add this on to re-advertise, we can discuss it before the voting people have a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to, you want staff to schedule a meeting with the Port Commission to discuss these changes?
Yeah, I guess you're
Prior.
not here today. Yeah, we'd like to hear their input as well.
Okay. Prior to re-advertising?
Correct.
So are you guys thinking we're gonna remove the hearing from the next meeting, Mary, and then try to set the advertisement period and hearing for somewhere around July?
Yeah, we'll have to advertise whatever y'all wanna do, because right now the advertisements are out for people to come for public comment in June.
Or we move it to July. We need to. Do we have time? What do you think?
Yeah, you have to, whatever you wanna do to change the dates or the ordinance, you're gonna have to vote on. So if you wanna vote to remove the advertisement and let people know it will be in July, or if you wanna do the changes, we just need something, because as it stands right now, the advertisement in the paper is for people to come for public comment in June for
Yeah.
the meeting.
So we can go ahead and cancel that public comment, that public hearing, if you're not gonna consider that version of the no-wake ordinance.
Yeah, it sounds to me like we gotta make changes, so yes.
So we just need to advertise that the public hearing is gonna be canceled, and then, so it's not gonna be to change it, it's gonna be to cancel it until the revisions are made.
So we'll bring you guys a new draft in June for consideration?
Y'all wanna have that much discussion, that's what it's gonna take.
I think for the most part, besides, the fishermen, I really, yeah, we probably need to talk.
And we'll have time to talk about this, during public comment, so.
So as it stands right now, we're gonna do an add-on to postpone the public hearing, to advertise to postpone the public hearing
Correct.
to a later date.
Yeah, I just think if we're gonna do it, we need to actually put a lot more mindset instead of just shutting everything down. Take the fishermen in consideration, take the guide fishermen, take just recreational people into consideration. And if we're gonna do it, to me, it should be done right the first time instead of having to revisit it. So I'm looking forward to maybe some meetings with fishermen and people or anybody who's concerned to kind of give the staff direction to where we just quit, moving forward with something as a reaction instead of being proactive and actually getting all the details and the limelight shed on it to do it right the first time.
So if we reword this and have discussion next month,
So there's two ways you can do it. You can either put in an advertisement in the paper that the hearing is canceled until further notice, or you can go ahead and have the hearing and hear all of the items that people are talking about and table to adopt it, and then you can put to re-advertise whatever your new stuff is. There's two options on this, and it's up to y'all, whatever y'all wanna do.
I would think you probably wanna have that hearing next month and hear all the comments.
Right.
And then,
Okay.
I think.
postpone the vote until we've had time to review it and kinda tweak it a little bit.
I think.
But if we wait till July, then we don't know what we may possibly need to tweak other than what's already been brought up.
Yeah.
So as of right now, we're leaving it like it is. We don't need to do any type of add-on. We're gonna go ahead and allow the public hearing next month. And then y'all can table the adoption, make all of your changes, and start re-advertising.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome.
And thank you to the public for speaking up when they saw that in the paper, because I think I've received calls, Sam's received calls, Mark's received calls.
And each of us receive portions of this no-wake zone. So we're getting calls, I get calls on East Fork, Mark's getting calls on the Loop, and you're getting calls on Kelso Bayou, so it's, I don't necessarily know what happened.
And just for the record, during this topic, they were bringing up the ship channel. We do not have the authority on the ship channel, so I just want to make that clear. We do have the authority on these other small bodies of water. Okay.
Okay, back to agenda item 6, state concern permits. There are 6 for your consideration. You received these late last week for your review. Are there any questions, concerns?
Charlie,
Okay,
is this, so they're gonna, it looks like they're gonna plug, M.O. Miller B1 well site that is shut in, not 100% sure how this works, but they're gonna plug it, or they're gonna remove piping and things like that?
The project description is on the screen for your review. Let me see if I can make it bigger.
I'm not even familiar with the property, so,
Yeah, if I'd have to guess, I'm kind of with Mr. Ronald on that. I think before we pull the trigger on that, we need a lot more information on certain things due to the natures of other things that's taking place right now. So I agree with Mr. Ronald about finding out about pipelines, if anything's gonna be abandoned in place, or what's the nature of it.
All right, so you want to know if other specific questions? We'll follow up with, staff will follow up with you to answer your questions.
I'm thinking Mr. Ronald was probably like alluding to, is the pipelines gonna be abandoned in place? Is the well, it says plugged, is it gonna be abandoned? Are they gonna be capping it off and putting it to the specs of what's required by the permit? I think when it comes to a lot of these abandonment stuff, that's another thing
Yeah,
we need to
like-
address a lot more, is to make sure it's, stuff's getting abandoned and taken care of.
Right here. It has no future production utility, requires safe access for a land-based plug and abandonment rig and support equipment. 0.6 of an acre of emergent wetlands will be impacted from the proposed project. So specifically, what is your question that you would like for staff to reach out?
They're plugging and abandoning at the well, what they're doing with all the pipelines.
Pipelines,
And
okay.
I was run to it, and what else you got, Mr. Ronald?
and that was it, are they just leaving all the equipment or pipe or, whatever the case may be?
Okay. So what are they doing with all the infrastructure?
Or whatever.
And I think that's kind of in reference to what was documented here, subject to strict compliance with cleanup and restoration standards found in sections 701B, 711F, 719M, so.
And it may be the case that they are doing it correctly, just ask.
Well, staff will follow up with you. If we don't have an answer to you before the voting meeting, then we'll just have to request for you to table it until we get those answers.
Okay.
And
Any
Mr.
other questions under number 6?
Yeah, the only other thing I have, Mr. President, is number 6. I see they amended their permit and all that, which the project is definitely a plus for the parish, the residents, and everybody, because, them pits need to be filled in. I would just like to see us, I don't know what we can do, but just a concern. I had a concern on the conditions of the dirt as far as if it's contaminated or not, which I think they got a clause in there. I just want to make sure that, the people in the jury just want to make it known that we're kind of concerned, just to make sure everything checks the boxes.
Which one is it on, Mark?
B,
Okay.
the backfilling of
And I was looking
pits.
at F also, where they gonna be doing some maintenance dredge. And it looks like they have approved area to, for dredge placement. You familiar with that one?
Oh, you want me to? I emailed you guys.
Six
the-
F.
Yeah, did you receive the email with all of the applications, permit applications, late last week?
I did.
You did? Okay, I just want to make sure you guys got it. So this is the only thing that really we have that our staff gets to review, because it's for state concern. So if you read this project description, anything that is unclear that you want clarity for before voting on this, if you would reach out to me and the staff, and we could get this information from the engineer record and get more details on
Okay,
it.
it was just mostly because of, we're just talking about the
Yes, sir.
dredging, so, yeah.
Yep, no, we're happy to get it for you guys. Just tell us what
I
you
would like to see where's the Arthur Moraes placement area? And then it sounds like for the next 10 years, they could dredge when needed and kind of just pull the trigger on that. Just maybe, hopefully they'll kind of let the, parish aware of when these are going to be taking place. again, like Mr. Sam stated, just so we can let the public know, you know, with their lines or whatever's gonna be out there. And that's just, you know, reading off of this, because I know usually the permits will show the bum placement area, so I was kind of curious.
Okay.
Any other questions under 6? Okay, moving to 7. Any questions under 7? All good. Okay, any questions under appointments? I would like, I know I asked the question, but just for the sake of the knowledge of the meeting, can we get explained a little bit on that Imperial Calcasieu Human Service Authority Board, just what it is and what is our point of this?
Yeah, sure. She did submit her, our regional staff submitted their letter of exactly, what they're supposed to be doing. But essentially, you know, this is a regional board, and they're the ones that do any type of, health services in our region. Whatever they're gonna offer, they get funding and grants. And so we have one representative. Most of the representatives on this board have to serve in some sort of capacity in law enforcement, work for a DA's office, familiar with the court system, or work in the educational system. We do have a few names that have been submitted for consideration. That board is reaching out, making sure they qualify, and they're gonna follow up with us with a recommended nominee before our next meeting.
Thank you. Any other questions under 8?
I'd just like to say on that, if we can send Ms. Penny just a letter, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, number 9.
That's a proclamation. Ms. Dinah Landry, your Director for Community Action Agency, requested that we declare May the Community Action Month. And this is essentially what the proclamation says. If you would like for me to recall the proclamation itself for your review, I can, but these are the main bullet points of what we're talking about.
Any questions? Okay, moving to number 10.
Again, this is from Ms. Dinah Landry, your Director from Council on Aging, and she wanted a proclamation to declare May Older Americans Month. And essentially, this proclamation just it demonstrates that you as a jury appreciate your elderly population of Cameron Parish and the role that they play in families.
Very much so. Number 11.
So this is something, historically, Cameron Parish Police Jury had a master service agreement, which is basically an on-call agreement with Lonnie Harper and Associates. They served Cameron Parish Police Jury starting in 1980. They have since closed their office, and so that contract is no longer valid. We also no longer have a parish engineer on staff or a project manager on staff. Our parish engineer resigned, and we did not replace that position. And then our project manager, Mr. Randy Thomas, retired, and we did not fill his position either. And so we do have a local engineering firm that is based in Cameron Parish that we are bringing to you guys for consideration to have this on-call contract with. It's a pre-negotiated cost rate. They can provide surveying, engineering services, project management services, everything that you no longer have your parish engineer or parish project manager to do for us. And so what this contract would do would give both your public works superintendent and myself the flexibility to negotiate projects with them, especially any type of road projects, any professional service underneath our purchasing threshold. We'd be allowed to do that without running it through a police jury meeting. It's particularly important during like emergency situations. That way we don't have to wait for a police jury meeting to bring it to your consideration. K&M is the recommended firm, and we brought that to you guys for consideration.
Do they have a local office, Miss Katie, K&M?
They do. I could throw a softball at it and hit it.
I just said that.
It is flexible. It doesn't cost you any money to have this contract. You only pay as you go. It's on call as needed.
Any
Whatever
questions?
services are needed.
And we know exactly what we're going to pay. Like I said, it's a pre-negotiated cost rate, so we know exactly what we need to budget before we call and issue a task order. We make sure that it reconciles within what our budget allows. Of course, anything over a particular threshold would still have to come to the jury for consideration. And then if it's anything that is federally funded, we would have to go through a procurement process.
Thank you. Number 12.
This is a resolution to call an election for Gravity Drainage District 5. It's for 10 years. They're estimated to collect $154,000 per year. And I think I don't need to tell you guys what a drainage board does, but I do have some bullet points for the public to know what the money's going to be used for. This is a renewal.
Any questions? Okay. Number 12. Number 13, sorry.
So this is a federally funded project, hazard mitigation grant. We went through the procurement process, scoring, and the recommended firm a few months ago was actually K&M. We've been negotiating the contract with them, and now it is ready for execution. It's been approved by both our grant consultants and our state liaison have reviewed it, and our legal counsel has reviewed it.
So the people over the health units reviewed it, correct?
No, this is just to elevate it.
Oh, just to elevate.
This is just
Okay,
to elevate.
It's not the build yet.
No, sir.
Okay,
This is
understood.
just to elevate it, and then we'll start talking about the renovations. And you're right, they will be 100% involved in construction.
Okay.
Any other questions?
And important to note, this is covered at 100%.
Okay. Number 14.
Interagency agreement renewal with Gravity Drainage 7. They use some of our property. This has been a lease that's been in existence for quite a while, and so it's time to renew that lease. And so the terms of it are for your review, but it does not cost the police jury any money. We're not responsible for anything, and you are indemnified.
Any questions? Good. Okay. Number 15.
So this is a resolution for special counsel. You had actually voted to hire Butler Snow, and you met with Carmen, and there's just a few things that we need to submit to legislative auditor to get approval. It's just normal protocol, and so this resolution is going to clarify everything that we negotiated with them and submitted and make sure it gets approved through the legislative auditor. Proposed rates are up there for your review. The contract term would be retroactive to March 11th when you actually voted to hire them. And these are the types of duties that they're going to assist you with. Any public finance, local tax structuring, reviewing tax incentives, and any projects involving economic development and special service districts. They would be available to advise you in all those matters.
Any questions? Number 16.
Authority to advertise the speed limit change. You're getting authority, public notice to advertise in the paper to reduce the speed limit from 25 miles an hour to 15 on Parish Road 4111, which is also known as Brister Lane and Big Lake. You still will have the opportunity to receive public comment and have an official vote. This is just to start the advertisement process.
That ain't gonna slow our grass cutting down, huh?
No, sir.
17.
All right. She actually was here and
Right.
presented. If you guys want to skip over it.
Yes, ma'am.
Any- 18, an alcohol permit for your review. It is to Safety Station LLC. The location is 115 Henry Street in Cameron. She is applying for a Class A permit to sell both beer and liquor, and it is a $100 permit fee payable to the police jury.
Is everything a go on that, or
This is just to sell alcohol.
but all the boxes are checked?
Yes.
Okay, 19,
That's gonna be tabled.
okay.
Table that.
19, okay.
What's
You want me
the
to go
reason
over
for,
the-
tabling, if I may ask? What's the reason for tabling?
We, with that funds, we wanna make sure we don't go over the $250,000 limit.
Oh, you're talking about I thought you were talking about the permit. Okay, misunderstood, I'm sorry.
20's the same way. I think we had a pretty good,
Yeah.
introduction on that one.
All right. Well,
21,
Marshall Street berm soil testing. This is one of the issues that have came up that staff have followed up with. There was some concern expressed in a few police jury meetings that perhaps the material that was donated to us could have been contaminated when we constructed that Marshall Street berm in 2022. So I went and got a proposal from a environmental assessment company. And so they quoted us $5,000 to conduct some sampling on that berm. And so if this is something that the jury wants to allocate funding to, I know that it's been a few years, but I wanted to present this to you guys for consideration.
Ms. Katie, on that, I believe last week or maybe the prior week, I can't really remember, I got with you on some concern about a levee being torn down again. Did we ever confirm that?
It was tore down, and that section that you're referring to, and it was never fixed. So they are definitely out of compliance. I've spoken with our coastal affairs director. They're going to send another demand letter to make sure that they restore it back to pre-construction activity.
You sure? Because I remember we got with them and they fixed it, and then it's got re-tore down. Because I want to say we got pictures at it to make sure, and Mr. Cole Melvin was a big part of that. So I think it was fixed and re-tore down, from my knowledge. So it's basically still not fixed though, and this is not going to be to sample where there's no levee at. I think
No.
It looks like it was 7, so it reflects that.
Yes, it has been reduced to just the other sections that are still undisturbed.
And if I may, who are we sending the letters to? I know last time we sent it to the landowner. Is that proper, or do we send it to the actual company that keeps tearing it down? Because it's not at the landowner's wishes, from my understanding.
We've been sending it to the landowner. They have met with the landowner. Unfortunately, there's been some key players that have passed away in the last year, so we are kind of starting over this particular issue.
Correct.
I have a little problem with testing soil that's been in place since 2022. Since then, of course, that levee's been torn down and replaced and torn down again, and almost all that's on private property. And the private property, you don't know what they've contaminated it with since then. And if we were going to do that, we should have done that before we put it in place in the first place. And I just see it's hard for me. It's hard for me to justify testing soil. Who's going to pay for it if it is dirty, and who are we going to blame it on if it was contaminated?
I want to say it's our project, the same reason why we're sending a letter for them to rebuild a levee, so it's considered our levee. So
It may be, Mark, but if we were going to put soil in place, it should have been tested initially, not 4 years down the road when anybody could have contaminated. That doesn't mean that soil was contaminated when it was put in place. It very well may have been, but we can't say it is if it's been there for 4 years. There's been oil dumped on there. There's been trash put on it. It's been moved around. We don't know how much of it's been moved, how much of it's been replaced. If we were going to do that, we should have done that from day one.
I have to agree, but for some reason at that time, our protege, so to speak, signed it saying we're liable for anything it is, and unfortunately, we're not a private company. We work for the public. The public come in here and told us it's contaminated. So do we throw it off the table, or we be good stewards and make sure it's not contaminated? Because if I had to guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Katie, that levy is the police jury's levy as it stands right now, or we wouldn't be sending a letter for it being tore down, correct?
Correct.
So that's.
Did they have any test reports when it was put down, Ms. Katie? Either when we put it down or wherever we got the dirt from?
I'm sure there's a handshake somewhere.
So I am, I don't know officially if there are test results, but I've been told that it was tested prior to deciding to donate it to people. But I don't have those test records officially, but that would be the owner of those test results is the private company.
Yeah.
Will we be able to get them?
We can request theirs, absolutely.
I'd rather hold off until we see what was recently tested.
I agree if there's tests, but at the end of the day, if there's no tests, which I doubt there's tests because I don't think we'd assign something. Maybe they have tests, we don't. My concern would be just a simple fact of putting dirt on somebody's property that may be contaminated. And this was only brought to us by the public. It's not something we dug up.
My request was whoever that public was asked for what information they had to provide to us to go, on what basis did they declare it to be contaminated. I'd like to see those results. That would be the first place I would start. I'd ask whoever that was, provide that to, email it to Katie. In conjunction, I will request from Venture Global their studies. I'll ask. I think I know that they have something. I think they will provide it to us. But my thought was,
Well, I'll go out.
whatever Venture provides to us, we're going to hear kind of what you heard this morning about. Well, we can't trust their
Correct.
Can't trust their experts. So that's why Katie and I brought this to y'all for you to do. But y'all have a good point. So we can put it off. We can go ask for the public to give us information, Venture, bring it back to you and see what we get, and then go from there.
Well, what I'll say, and we can reference a public meeting for the Cameron Gravity Board, the same exact dirt that was utilized then is the same dirt they're hauling off now, and it was stated in that meeting that, no, it's not contaminated, and I'm quoting what was stated. It's not contaminated, it's restricted, it can't be put in water. Well, to me, if it's restricted and can't be put in water, I mean, you can kind of do your own analysis. So I think we have enough to move on, and I'll provide that meeting there with that documentation on public record.
That's as much information as we can get. I'll request it of Venture, the public can, or you can provide us.
I think the restriction is being put in water, and I may be wrong, but DEQ will not allow you to put oil into water. So if you have a landfill, say for instance, you have to pump the water out before you can put it in. Pump the water out, then you're allowed to put it in if the water's not in there, but you have to do water sampling.
Well,
in certain areas, there's some restrictions.
Y'all can table this issue until we collect more information and then decide what to do.
Well, I'm not an expert, but soil cement and I forgot what it is. It's not going to grow grass for an extended period of time. I believe you can't put it in water due to the soil cement that's in it. There's certain additives in it that's not natural, but I don't know. I'm not a forensic or not.
See what we get. That's all I can, y'all
Yep.
make a decision.
Okay, 22.
At the last meeting, Juror Daigle requested that we change the public records request policy. I did provide a draft for your review, but basically the sole revision of this policy is to transfer responsibility for receiving public records requests from the district attorney's office to the parish secretary. And that is on the agenda for consideration.
Okay. Any questions?
How would we have the capacity to keep up with that? As far as time
So,
Your parish secretary handles quite a lot of duties. I'll let her speak on.
So normally what happens when a public records request is received, I would send it to Tom Barrett's office, he would review it, and he would say, yes, they can have these public records, no, they cannot. Whatever needed to be redacted, if anything, he let us know. Then it was forwarded to the entity or to the department to pull the public records. The person that's requesting the public records, the day the request is received, you have 72 hours to send them, letting them know that you acknowledge the public records, you send them a fee schedule, and they get back with you and let you know to move forward or not. But at the end of the day, everything goes through the DA's office. It's just where the email's originally sent to. Would it be sent to me? Would it be sent to him?
And again, just to clarify, every entity, their secretary does it, because why would the people send all their public requests to the DA's office? The DA does DA stuff. He should be our legal counsel over it, oversighting it, but the public shouldn't be getting confused. They should send it to our secretary. That is the custodian of records. And from what I gathered, that is who's supposed to get the public records request. So it's just to reflect it. It still will be going through Mr. Tom's office for, oversight.
Let me just make one comment. That, again, the DA's office does not have generally the records that are being requested. If that initial notice to my office is removed, that your entities need to be aware that within 72 hours of receiving that request, they have to acknowledge that request. And that's basically what Julie does. The communication comes into my office. My staff sends a letter to whoever made the request. We call it the notification letter. And it says we acknowledge, and we just repeat what they're asking for. And here's our fee schedule. We'll be in touch. And that way, because there are consequences to not that simple acknowledgement within 72 hours. So as long as your boards, and it doesn't have to be a formal letter, just we acknowledge we received. So if you do change it, that each secretary of each board has a responsibility, they just know that they have to respond within 72 hours of receiving that request. And the response just needs to be an acknowledgement, not an actual production of the documents, just an acknowledgement. We have received your request, we're on it, then you have a reasonable amount of time to produce those documents.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Tom, it was changed for the police jury's behalf. All the boards received their own public records requests, and I'm sure they sent it to you to oversight. Or is that a misconception? And all these boards, because if our staff can't do it, they're full-time. A board is not full-time. Do we need to take that out of their hands and give all to your office?
So some people have learned they can send it. They'll send it directly to Julie Trahan. They'll send it to Mary. They'll send it to they'll send it to the port. Some people know, some people ask Mary for documents that are from the sewer board or from the Grand Lake Water. I mean, so she would forward that to us. We send it to the water board or whomever and say, hey, provide us the documents. But so it doesn't always, the public doesn't know exactly always who to ask. And so their first is either the DA's office or to Mary, your secretary, and then between us, we decide who the proper who more than likely has the documents that person's requesting. We send that, we acknowledge the request. We send the request off to the appropriate agency or department within our government, and then get it back. So it's not always exactly the same.
Well, to me, it goes back to boards and staff are there for reasons. If somebody wants something for the sewer board, a public request is not technically, because she's going to be our custodian over the police jury, our business, not the entities. There's kind of a misconception. So when somebody public requests something, our president is probably one of the ones that's involved in that to make part of the board aware, because somebody might request something that goes, oh, something's going on, we understand. If we don't, or a board don't understand certain public requests, some stuff don't matter. Some stuff throws a red flag, and yeah, you got a timely manner to get it to, but that allows the board or the jury to be informed on what's being asked for us to kind of get ahead of or get some information on it if something's out the ordinary. So if it just goes through your office, a lot of times, a lot of stuff may get overlooked in the board, probably letting out something or so to speak, getting historical documents that they don't know nothing of when they should be involved in it, because I think as it sits, all the board members, secretaries.
Regardless of who gets the request, and let's just say, let's use the Creole Rec District for instance. If a request comes to my office, to y'all's office, may go to Katie, may go to Mary, may go to the president. Ultimately, that request comes to my office, and I would call generally Mary or Katie saying, I don't think this is addressed to the police jury. This looks like a Creole Rec District. So we send the acknowledgement letter to the person requesting, then we copy that letter to Creole Rec District and say, hey, do you have any documents responsive to this request? Creole sends it back to me, or maybe they send it to Mary. It ends up in my office to review. Is it public record? Is it not public record? Does something need to be redacted? Then I approve it to go out, and generally Julie would send it out, because Julie's the one that sends the acknowledgement letter, and she follows up with, we've got the documents, it's gonna cost you $10 or $20, or sometimes it's no fee because it's electronic, and Julie then, but ultimately the request goes to the appropriate agency to produce those documents. And again, it might come through Michael initially, Mary, me, Katie, whoever, because again, the public sometimes doesn't know who to ask. So it starts somewhere, but it ultimately we do our best to put that request into the hands of the person or the entity that has the records that are being requested.
Correct. So just to clarify, just to do like the rest of the whole parish probably does. Our legal counsel oversees it all. Yes, correct. We want you to look at everything. I mean, that's what you're here for. But it should all go through proper chain of command and start with the custodian of records, which is in my, from what I gather, Miss Mary. That's all I'm trying to do is.
Mary is the custodian of records for the police jury, not for every board.
No.
Correct.
So
the police jury, that's what I'm getting at. All the boards are because if you look up all their bylaws, they're the custodian of the record, unless it's changed from all the bylaws I read. So I'm just trying to redirect.
Yes.
Let's move on.
All right, that's just it. Just have 72 hours to acknowledge the request and then reasonable time to respond.
Okay, thank you. Katie?
Okay, so the financial statements and budget to actual comparisons and the bills were all emailed to you last week for your review. And as promised, your March 2026 cash balance is on the screen for your review. This is reflective of what is actually in your cash account. It does not include receivables or payables.
Any questions? Anything else, Ms. Katie?
Actually, I do. I just wanted to follow up with two more issues that were concerns that were expressed by some residents over the last two meetings. 126 Francis Circle, there was a complaint expressed to you guys that there were some plumbing issues. Our CBO did go inspect it and gave them a list of what needed to be fixed, and it has since been remedied, and they are compliant. And then the allegation against 140 Francis Circle was that they were using the incorrect PVC pipe. They alleged it was 3-inch. Well, our CBO did go inspect it, and they are compliant. Everything is 4 inches. So both those issues have been resolved.
Thank you much.
What about the issue with the septic at the sewage on the ground? All that's been taken care of?
I think that was 126
Yeah.
Okay.
Francis. Yes, he had some plumbing issues, but he has fixed it, and I think the resident is satisfied.
This, you know, the sewage out rather than just being compliant with the pipe.
Yes, sir. As far as I'm aware, it has been addressed.
Anything else, Ms. Katie?
No, sir.
Okay, appreciate the staff and great job on the PowerPoints. We really appreciate that. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Sam, second by Mr. Johnny, all in favor? Aye. Adjourn. We'll give.